Southwest Florida's #1 primetime newscast, Fox 4 News at 10.
We woke up and the cops were surrounding the whole block and the helicopter was flying in the neighborhood.
Now at 10, a deadly start to 2014. The first murders of the year in 2 Southwest Florida cities happening within hours of each other. Four in Your Corner bringing you the latest on both investigations. Plus, taxation turmoil, how the IRS is changing the way service employees are tipped, and why some local restaurants are now worried about their well-being. And Saturday soaking, tropical moisture making for a wet and dreary day in Southwest Florida. A look at an active local forecast. Good evening and thanks for choosing Fox 4 in Your Corner. I'm Kelly Stegeman. We begin tonight with those murders last night in Southwest Florida. In Lehigh Acres, a fight takes a deadly turn for the worst. One man is now dead while another is in serious condition. This incident happening just after midnight on Wyoming Road that's just off of Lee Boulevard. Four in Your Corner, Sarah Belsole has been digging for details on the two people involved and explaining what neighbors are calling a very bloody altercation.
Guarded by yellow crime scene tape, investigators take pictures and gather evidence. The front yard of this home on Wyoming Road littered with evidence markers. Blood still in the driveway. It's a gruesome scene for neighbors.
It's usually a quiet neighborhood, so it's, pretty peaceful and kind of shocking to know something like that happens out here.
Deputies responded to calls about a disturbance at the home shortly after midnight. When they got there, they found 27-year-old Dana Stump lying dead in the front yard.
Everybody's curious, wondering what's going on. It's kind of shocking. Like I said, it's always a quiet neighborhood. You never hear anything.
Neighbors say another man was taken away from the scene in an ambulance. The Lee County Sheriff's Office says he is in serious condition.
It's like I'm on TV, crime programs.
Stump's criminal record shows a history of violence, but neighbors say he grew up in the neighborhood and was always friendly.
He came over and offered to mow our grass a couple times, which was nice.
Friends say he also had a young daughter who didn't live at the home that is now a murder scene, leaving neighbors wondering what went wrong. Sarah Belsole, Fox 4 in Your Corner.
At this time, the Lee County Sheriff's Office is not saying whether or not the other man involved in the fight is a suspect in this case. Now today, Sarah also spent time talking to neighbors and police working on Cape Coral's first homicide of the year. This one happened on Southwest 12th Avenue, just off of Coronado Boulevard in the South Cape. Officers responded to calls of shots fired when they found the victim lying dead in the parking lot of an apartment complex. Sarah has the very latest on this investigation as well.
Police lights and investigators scouring for evidence. Not a normal Saturday morning sight for neighbors on Southeast 12th Avenue.
We woke up and the cops were surrounding the whole block and the helicopter was flying in the neighborhood. It landed twice. They said that somebody had been shot in the building right behind us.
Cape Coral police responded to these apartments around 4 a.m. after receiving calls about shots fired.
When officers arrived on scene, they were checking the parking lot, hoping to see if they had any evidence of actual shots being fired, bullet casings or anything to that effect, and they came upon a black male subject with multiple gunshot wounds. The subject was later pronounced dead at the scene.
A shocking discovery for neighbors who say the area is usually quiet.
Nothing like this has ever happened in this neighborhood, so, I've been here 30 years. We've never had a problem here.
Investigators spent hours combing through this next-door field Saturday morning. They say officers found the body next to this car covered with a red tarp. The car was later towed from the scene. Sarah Belsole, Fox 4 in Your Corner.
The victim's identity has not been released at this time. Cape Coral police say they do not think that this was a random act of violence and that the public is not in any danger. If you have any information on either of these murders, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers, 1-800-780-TIPS. Turning to weather this evening, we are now taking a live look at an active Storm Patrol Viper radar as a lot of rain continues to make its presence felt here in Southwest Florida this evening. We'll send it over to Storm Patrol's Liza Fernandez, who's showing us what to expect for the rest of the evening on what's been a rather blah day today.
Certainly a cloudy and not only that, but damp start to the weekend as we take you back over to Power 4 Storm Patrol Viper radar. 4 radars going across the state, and there is some rain across southwest Florida, but much more to come, as you can see, to our south and to our west. Checking out Viper radar now, we're seeing some activity really starting to moderate some in the yellow cells that are moving inland in Glades and Hendry County toward Lake Okeechobee. Some light rain as we manipulate the radar around, especially around Naples. We're starting to see a little bit of some heavier rain moving toward the northeast here, out of Naples into North Naples and inland Collier County. Now, as we take a wider look again, there's still plenty of moisture working its way in over the peninsula, so we cannot rule out showers throughout the evening. In fact, they will be lingering throughout the overnight hours and into tomorrow morning. We'll see a low a little bit warmer than what we saw last night. Most of us in the low 60s across southwest Florida, and temperatures right now in the mid 60s, although there is still a little bit of a bite to the air, although those temperatures do seem kind of mild. So we've got a mixed bag of weather. Today we saw plenty of cloud cover and rain. That will be replaced by some cold and wind. I'll tell you when and just how cold things will get during my next full weather update.
And anytime you see weather happening, grab your camera, snap a picture, get some video. We would love to share it with others. You can send it to stormpatrol@fox4now.com. Tonight, a Punta Gorda man is being treated for life-threatening injuries after he was burned in an early morning fire. The Punta Gorda Fire Department says the blaze broke out at a mobile home in the 11,000 block of Tamiami Trail just after 5:30 this morning. When crews arrived, they say heavy smoke and fire was coming from the front of the home. Well, after searching around back, they found a 62-year-old man unconscious and suffering from serious burns. He was treated on scene before being flown to Tampa General Hospital. Tonight, state fire marshals are still investigating the cause of the fire. 2 people seriously hurt this morning after an SUV slammed into a Marco Island home. Marco Island Fire Rescue responded to the home near the Jolly Bridge around 8 a.m. and found an SUV had hit the home, as you can see in these photos, causing major damage to both the house and the car. 2 people inside the car had to be freed and then taken to area hospitals. The building department is now investigating to see if the home is structurally sound. The cause of the crash is also under investigation. Also in Marco Island, a man there tonight is behind bars after a domestic dispute at his home that turns into a SWAT situation. Authorities arresting 55-year-old Mark Ryland at the home in the 700 block of Apple Court. Officers say Ryland's wife ran off after a dispute, told police that her husband had weapons inside and he may resist arrest. When police and the Collier SWAT team first arrived, Ryland was no longer in the home, but police eventually arrested him after he returned just before 8 this morning. His wife was treated for injuries but did not need to go to the hospital. A new year is not just a change in the calendar, but a change of laws. Those in the service industry are feeling the effects of one in particular when it comes to tipping. Local restaurants like Dante's Coal-Fired Pizza in Cape Coral say they're watching this one closely.
Hopefully, it's not going to be too bad.
As the executive chef and trainer at Dante's Coal-Fired Pizza in Cape Coral, Julio Rodriguez's job is to focus on the dough. But right now, it isn't the pizza, but the pay on his mind.
Well, anytime there's a tax increase in any way, there's certain repercussions that affect both the employees and the employers.
Many restaurants are speaking out about new IRS tax laws for 2014. Automatic gratuity tacked onto large parties is no longer considered a tip, but a service charge, meaning the servers can't take that money home at the end of the night, rather wait for it to be taxed in their paycheck as wages. But at Dante's, there's a bigger concern.
New tax rates, we're going to have to basically match more. That affects everything from workers' comp to, liability.
The way they understand it, servers now have to declare at least 8% of their tips. If they don't, the business has to pay the rest. That could add up to thousands of dollars for the business that's not even a year into it.
Especially being a new restaurant, you don't want to make a whole lot of changes right off the bat, because the more changes you make in the beginning, the more likely you are to not succeed in a very strenuous industry.
Those new laws are forcing restaurants to put more faith into their customers to take care of those who take care of them.
So we're just going to write it out, see how it, how it affects the employees and us in general.
Rodriguez says they will be having staff meetings with servers in the coming weeks to talk about these new laws. This past week, Darden Restaurants, the owners of chains like Red Lobster and Olive Garden, announced they are actually going to get rid of the automatic gratuity for large tables and instead offer suggestions on the bill for 15, 18, and 20% tips, and then let the customer decide from there. Manatees on the move. Coming up, why hundreds of the aquatic species have chosen a new meeting ground in Southwest Florida this weekend, and where you can even see them for yourself. Signing on the dotted line, the latest fresh face to join Tampa Bay's coaching staff days after the Bucs cut ties with their head coach. But first, objective or opportunistic? Why many GOP faithfuls are calling Charlie Crist's new stance on gay marriage nothing more than another political ploy. Next.
Checking out Power 4 Storm Patrol Viper radar and still seeing some rain well to our southwest. How that'll affect your Saturday night and the rest of your weekend.